Boo. Pretty scary, right? Well, how about boo? Was that twice as scary? Half as scary? Why is that? Let's talk about it. Since the time of campfire stories, people have loved a good scare. But why does it feel so good to be scared? When we feel scared, our brain releases certain chemicals like adrenaline, epinephrine, cortisol, and dopamine. These chemicals all do something different, but they all work together to achieve the desired result of preparing our body to face something dangerous. Releasing these chemicals results in a sort of high that makes us feel good and full of energy. And in general, the more scared we are, the more chemicals our brain will release and the better we should feel. Horror movie producers see fear as a product that they can bottle and sell.
¿Quieres?
But it's nowhere near that simple. Fear is a lot like hot sauce. You add a little to your meal and it releases some yummy brain chemicals. But it's not quite as easy to manufacture. Let's go back to the beginning of this video for a moment. A single ghost is scary. And two ghosts are also scary, but would you say that you are twice as scared? The proposed danger has doubled, so why hasn't your sense of fear? Let's look at a recent example of how increasing danger can actually decrease your fear. I don't think we could find a more fitting example of this than the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. For those who might not be familiar, the Weeping Angels are an alien race that are quantum locked to be literally made of stone anytime they are perceived by another living creature, meaning they can only catch you when you look away. Or if you blink. I also forgot to mention that they don't even kill you. If you get touched by a weeping angel, you are teleported to a random point in the past, being forced to live out the rest of your life, displaced from everything and everyone you've ever known. The Weeping Angels made their debut in Season 3, Episode 10 of Doctor Who, and what a debut they made! This single episode not only follows a never-before-seen protagonist for this single episode, it not only barely has the Doctor in it at all, it not only became the highest-rated episode out of the almost 900 episodes in the entire series, and is also ranked 71 on IMDb's best episodes of all time, but it also established a new mechanic that will be adopted by countless movies and games for years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Weeping Angels. But, unfortunately, like most successful things, it just couldn't keep to the same standard when they made their inevitable return just 2 seasons later. Not bad ratings, but not what they could have been. So, what happened? First, let's get a quick summary of their first appearance in Blink. Sally Sparrow finds a message from the Doctor in an abandoned house. Her friend gets taken by an angel. Sally learns the truth from a letter and she cries. Sally goes to the police to report the dangerous house, and Officer Hunky shows Sally a bunch of vehicles that were abandoned at the house, including the TARDIS, and Officer Hunky gets taken. The Doctor says this line:
"This is my timey-wimey detector. Goes ding when there's stuff."
And the angels take the TARDIS back to the house, but they need the key, which Sally has. Sally goes back to the house with her friend's brother. They follow instructions from the Doctor that the brother deciphered on how to send the TARDIS back to the Doctor because he's trapped in the past. They nearly get caught and the TARDIS is sent back to the Doctor while the angels are stuck looking at each other forever. Okay. The episode is easy to follow, has likable characters, and has an eerie tone to it for the sound design and the fact that a lot of the spooky stuff happens in broad daylight. You never truly feel safe, but you're not quite on high alert the whole time either. Now, let's look at their next appearance. The Doctor and friends chase a weeping angel through the catacombs of an alien race with 2 heads on an alien planet in the future. But Doctor, why do all the statues only have 1 head if the aliens who lived here had 2? Because they're all weeping angels. Oh, shit. Things continue to get worse and the angels chase them and kill a few of them. Wait. Kill? But they're supposed to feed off the potential energy of all the days a person could have lived. Oh, they're not hungry? Oh, they're not hungry. I guess they're not hungry. Anyway, the rest of the episode has them running away from the angels, then throwing them into a crack in space and time to be deleted from ever existing. It's a lot. I do understand why they made a lot of the choices that they did, and it's really not a bad storyline by any means, and audiences seem to agree. But it's just such a shame that they couldn't capture lightning twice. Comparing these 2 appearances, it should be pretty clear which one is scarier. I mean, the first one takes place in modern day, mostly in a little abandoned house, and has 4 weeping angels. The second one is on an unknown planet, in an unknown time, in dark catacombs, surrounded by hundreds of weeping angels. That's right, it's this one. I think that the reason why can be viewed in many ways, but let's look at it like this. How we experience fear through media and in real life can be broken down into these 3 elements: shock, suspense, and comprehension. Shock refers to the initial surprise of new information. This can be through suddenly seeing or hearing something through a jump scare, but can also be from subverting expectations when we learn new information. The fear we experience through shock can be graphed like this. Suspense refers to the time we spend between expecting new information and then finally acquiring it. This can be through a conversation, waiting for someone to reach their punchline or main point, or it can be through actions like waiting for someone to open a door or turn a corner. When graphed, the fear we experience through suspense looks something like this. Comprehension refers to our understanding of what is currently happening. If we fall down and break our arm, we will feel the pain, but if we look at our arm twisted the wrong way, we will feel fear. The danger did not change, but our understanding of the circumstances did. The fear we experience from our comprehension works a little differently to shock and suspense. In general, I believe that it can be graphed like this. I think that the first appearance of the Weeping Angels is stronger in each of these elements, but the biggest difference between them comes down to the last element, comprehension. In their first appearance, there is so much that is familiar and easy for an audience to digest. There aren't many characters, their goals are simple, and the environment is contained. Compare that to the next appearance, and there's just overwhelming information. A new location, a new time, new culture, lots of characters, unclear stakes, and a seemingly insurmountable obstacle to overcome. We humans struggle to comprehend a sense of scale, and by grounding a story in familiar elements, we are able to more easily digest the elements that are brand new to us. Fear is not always dictated by logic. In fact, it rarely is. If you're surrounded by 4 Weeping Angels versus 400 Weeping Angels, mathematically you should be 100 times more terrified, except you're not. Our ability to comprehend scale is so skewed that some writers don't even attempt to convince you. One of the most famous horror authors of all time, H.P. Lovecraft, invented the concept of an eldritch horror, which is an entity that is so horrific and dreadful that he just states that we humans could never even comprehend its existence, and so he doesn't even try to describe it. So obviously, psychological scale isn't a new hurdle that we're facing. Another example is the world's most common phobias. The 2 most common phobias in the world are death and public speaking. It's quite a drastic difference between the 2. And then it's made worse when you find out it's actually around the other way, and people fear public speaking more than death itself. There is no way to make a sound, logical argument for why that makes sense. But death as a concept is something that has just eluded human understanding for as long as humans have been around. We simply can't fathom the scale of what it means to die. But we can conceptualize a situation in life that is less than death, but presents a comprehensible sense of dread. I think that a great example of people fearing a sense of helplessness more than death can be seen through the famous internet creepypasta, The Backrooms. For the uninitiated, the Backrooms are essentially another dimension or gap between dimensions that you could fall into and become trapped in this empty void of endless hallways. And that's pretty much it. The fear of the unknown, the fear of being stranded, being left all alone to eventually die of dehydration or maybe just loneliness. Clean and simple. Chef's kiss. Mwah! No notes. But then, one day, the community had an idea. What if and now there's this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy whose name is Jerry apparently. And now there's layers, and a tentacle, and traps, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. What happened? Look how they massacred my boy. The Backrooms have turned it into a horror concept sandbox where literally anything could happen, instead of the drastically more terrifying idea of a place where absolutely nothing could happen. These Backrooms are gone, and now we're left with this. Hatsune Miku! We had something so wonderfully unique and eerie, and it became a magnet for the common and the mundane, because we don't understand what makes something truly terrifying. Most of this so far has been my personal opinions and ramblings and my own interpretations of the facts. But is there a way to prove scientifically that attempting to make something scary actually does make it less scary sometimes? Well, sort of. Instead of seeing it as becoming less scary, let's look at it as less enjoyable. In early 2020, a group of Danish researchers conducted a study in which 110 people entered a recreational horror experience and had their experience recorded, heart rates monitored, and were then asked about their fear and enjoyment levels once the experience was over. The study had some fascinating results, but the part that I want to talk about is this. a chart comparing the self-reported fear and the enjoyment. There are two things about this chart that I find interesting, and they are here and here. Now this curve trends upwards and it peaks around 6.5 out of 10 on the fear scale, but then it goes down. This is a great example of how people will gravitate towards a scarier experience, but also that too much fear results in the enjoyment becoming spoiled. Similarly, the two lowest columns of reported enjoyment can be found at the no reported fear and the maximum reported fear, meaning that not only can an experience that is too scary become less enjoyable, but it can become as unenjoyable as simply not being scared at all. Perhaps that's what happened to the backrooms. Maybe too many people were on either end of that graph, and by adding some more dudes and guys into the mix, they settle on a comfy middle ground for everyone to enjoy. So remember, fear is like hot sauce. Try a little bit at a time and know your limits.